Spoilers for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man PS4, and current Spider-Man comics. I, like many people, adore Spider-Man. So when I heard there was a sequel to the amazing Spider-Verse movie, I went on a media blackout and went to watch it the night it came out. It was phenomenal. It was everything I could want from a Spider-Man story and more. The "and more" part is the most important thing here. If you've been a fan of Spider-Man for as long as I have, well, then you know that Peter's life has been filled with countless tragedies that have shaped and molded him into the man he is today. You also know that the tragedies are oftentimes convoluted, and that's in the best case. In the worst case, we have Paul. Oh, you don't know about Paul? Well, we can talk about Paul later. Back to Spider-Man and tragedy. The tragedies and hardships in Spider-Man's life is what makes him so relatable as a character. It's what allows people to gravitate towards Peter and see him as more than a comic character and more like an actual person. Peter struggles through life like so many of us do. He fails at relationships, struggles with cash, and is just a person. So often we see these comic characters who are almost titanic in their power and strength, with some of them being compared to gods. Peter may be able to tangle with the best of them, but at his core, he's just a normal guy. The stories center around him managing his life and the responsibilities that come from his powers. His comic book stories are always intriguing, but at one point they started skipping. Like a broken record player, the story started to repeat over and over. Peter would face tragedy after tragedy, and rather than growing as a person, he would start to cycle and revert back to the person he was before the event. These repeating stories have become a real problem in the comic continuity, as different writers compete to retcon each other's stories in order to return Peter back to where he was at the start of the series, a confused, angry guy bearing the weight of the world. One particularly terrible example that comes to mind is the complete and utter destruction of Dr. Otto Octavius. Doc Ock is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains when written correctly, and my god did they manage to nail him with the superior Spider-Man run of comics. The story begins with Spider-Man swapping bodies with the rotting body of Doc Ock after an accident. Doc Ock uses Peter's body to become the man he's always wanted to be, someone powerful and respected. Through the story, we see Ock slowly become a better person, and he too discovers what it means to become Spider-Man. It's honestly a really strong story that gets completely erased and gutted by, get this, a devil deal with Mephisto. Longtime Spidey fans, you know my outrage. Mephisto is the devil in the Marvel Universe with a really strong reality warping powers. Keep this in mind because this is important. Doc Ock loses his mind and returns to the old status quo, undoing an excellent story that tackled themes of nature versus nurture and what exactly it means to be a hero and just a good person. Scully, that's great and all, but how does this relate to Spider-Verse? Hey, we're gonna get there, okay? Just wait. It's really important that you'll understand the state of Spider-Man comics at the moment because it informs lots of my opinions on the movie. So we have an example of a really strong storyline involving one of Spider-Man's villains. But what about Spidey himself? Dude, Spider-Man gets reset in the main continuity over and over again. It's infuriating. Nothing demonstrates this more than his relationship with one Mary Jane Watson. Mary Jane is, well, Mary Jane. She's this fun character that pushes Spider-Man to be a better person, and it is his longest ride or die. That is, until she wasn't. Peter and MJ have gotten together and broken up so many times, it's infuriating. But nothing was as insulting and gut-wrenching as the One More Day travesty that completely gutted their relationship. This storyline featured Peter doing a devil deal with Mephisto, I told you he was important, that would make Peter and MJ's marriage disappear as if it never happened in order to save the life of Aunt May. First off, May would be furious if she ever learned that her life was traded for Peter's happiness. And second off, we saw how well Aunt May's death can be written in Spider-Man PS4. Like, in that game, Aunt May dies, and it is such an emotional and touching scene. And it was in a similar situation where Peter had to choose between the life of his Aunt May and saving a bunch of other people. Like, it's just infuriating. This reset completely undid the progress that Peter had going for him in his relationship. He was starting to mature, and storylines that played with the idea of fatherhood were teased, never came to be. because of the decision to completely annihilate and reset Spider-Man's character growth. Peter and MJ have been rocking the main continuity ever since, and oh my god, they ruined it again. So like, this is just frustrating at this point, but how do we get here? Okay, here we go. In the current comics, we have some crazy, dumb stuff going down. Peter and MJ get trapped in another world, but Peter gets sent back, and it turns out that the other world has accelerated time, and by the time Peter gets back to MJ has gotten together with this dude named Paul, and Paul is a total tool, and he's just an annoying character, but so there's these kids, and they kind of look like they belong to MJ and Paul, but they aren't. They just look like them to freak out the readers. Peter this whole time has been acting super out of character and just isn't using his brain, and it's awful. It's just awful. Peter is written horribly out of character, and MJ is she's just not her. Paul has no character. He's just a plot device used to drive a wedge between Peter and MJ. He could be replaced with a plank, and the story would be virtually the same. Peter undergoes these constant cycles of suffering, and they just keep reverting him back into the character that he used to be as a teenager. He's just like an angry, confused dude. And he's just older now. It's very frustrating as a longtime fan because Peter has so much room to grow and evolve as a hero. And he has! That's the most frustrating part. We've seen Peter grow. We've seen him mature. We've seen him transform as a person. But then he just doesn't anymore. They change writers and they decide that all of that really good character writing is just worthless, and they revert him back to what he used to be. But like, you know, we have some lights. We have Ultimate Spider-Man. The new Ultimate Spider-Man run is pretty good. It's just frustrating. We could have stories of Peter tackling what it's like to be a father and raise his kid. Something longtime readers would appreciate as, hey, lots of us are now doing the same exact thing. We have seen Peter deal with so much, so why can't we see him progress as a character? Spider-Verse sees the current state of Spider-Man comics and spits in the face of what they are doing and what they have done. It dares to ask the question, hey, do Spider-Men and women have to always suffer? And I think just within this one movie, we have already been given the answer. And it's no, they don't. Spider-Verse gives us a version of Peter that reconnected with MJ and married her, having a daughter named Mayday, which is just so damn refreshing to see on the big screen. We see Peter just happy with his kid, and the amount of love that's conveyed in their scenes is just heartwarming. Seeing Mayday and MJ and Peter all together smiling, and it's just a family that's full of love, was the biggest highlight of the film and a giant middle finger to the comics. No, Spider-Man doesn't have to be miserable. He can choose to both be a hero and a husband and a father. The story with Miles further pushes the idea that these cycles of violence and tragedy don't have to be perpetuated to make a decent Spider-Man story. Nothing exemplifies this more than Paviter, oh my god, I'm gonna butcher his name, Prabhakar? Sorry, a boy from India who got bitten by a radioactive spider, and well, you know the rest. But maybe we don't. Unlike most spider people, Paviter's life is actually going good. Really, really good. He's having fun teenage hijinks, he's beating up baddies, and hasn't had to deal with too much tragedy. Even his damn hair is pretty good. Like, all right, he's having a pretty good time. And then we get introduced to the concept of canon events. Canon events are tragedies that all spider people are supposed to go through to fuel their next few years of their tragic, sad little lives. But Miles doesn't care about that and prevents a canon event from happening to Paviter, which preserves Paviter's remarkably great life, and that is just so special. The idea that a spider person could just be happy was nice. And of course he would face hardships, but maybe spider people don't have to go through hell and back every 5 or so chapters. Maybe we can have spider stories that aren't poorly disguised torture porn. Miles' story is about preventing the canon events from ruining his life, as he is told that he has to let his dad die in order to preserve continuity. Miles says to hell with that, and does his best to do the right thing and save the people he cares about. Being a spider person doesn't mean you have to all undergo the same tragedies over and over again. All it means is that you got superpowers after being bitten by a radioactive spider and you want to do something good with them. This film tells us that we can have a world where spider people are just heroes. And yeah, they might face hardships, but they don't have to all grow through the same ones. The cycles of tragedies don't have to be perpetuated over and over again. Not everyone has to lose their Captain Stacy. Not everyone has to revert back to zero. And most importantly, it tells us that, hey, maybe we don't have to retcon some of our best stories. Right, Marvel? Thanks for watching. I have so much to say about this movie and its many themes. I could go another entire video on the movie statements on parenthood and its not so subtle allegories on coming out. Seriously, Miles and Gwen's reveals to their parents about being spider people are scary similar to coming out stories in the LGBTQ plus community. It can't be a coincidence. I have been Scully Sinful. Thanks for watching my ramblings on Spider-Man and Spider-Verse. I love Spider-Man and I hope you resonated with some of the stuff I said. If you want to support me, I am having a debut event on my birthday, February 26, 2026. Hope to see you there. That's all for me. I hope to see you again real soon. Till next time, revelers.